everybody, Peggy O'Neill here in the 4th chapter on empathy is your next superpower. We talked about understanding, we talked about listening, we talked about inquiring, and today we're going to talk about resonating. So ladies and gentlemen, get out your big boy panties, big girl panties, get a shot of courage, because where we're going to go today does require some courage. It requires emotional resonance. And what that means is actually summoning up feelings inside of ourselves that are similar to what the person that we're sitting with is actually feeling. So they might be talking about losing a spouse, and we may not have ever lost a spouse, but we have lost a pet. So we know, we have a memory, we have a resonance of what that is, and we can start to feel that in ourselves. Or we maybe didn't lose all of our money, but we went to Vegas and lost a couple $100. So we know what that feels like. So we can bring that up. And when we do, the other person feels it. And when they feel it, they know that they're not alone. And when they know they're not alone, healing happens. It's really amazing. It's sort of like the ball of tangled yarn just undoes itself, or the frozen block inside just melts and lets go. That's what happens when people feel that we're resonating with them emotionally. So we can imagine what it's like to be them. We can bring up those old memories, and we can allow ourselves to be present with them, with our imagining that or feeling our own emotional difficulty as they're experiencing others. And then as we say to them, I get this is really hard. I mean, this is really a very difficult place to be. They get that. We know what that is. And then they have that experience of connection, and it just builds such a much deeper connection between people, connections that make relationships sustainable, that can go through the ups and downs that relationships go through. So if you're not sustaining your relationship very well, I would suggest that you practice developing this particular skill. Another aspect that can help us to develop the capacity to resonate with people who are having a difficult time and to be with them in an empathetic way is to practice self-empathy. So self-empathy is when we bring empathy to ourselves. I always like to remind people that we are the evolution of our parents, and we do a lot of things better than they do. And one of the things that we may not have learned but can learn how to do is to love ourselves better than they did. And for many of us, this is a very magical potion, that when we can begin to accept some of the difficulties from our past and begin to allow ourselves to forgive ourselves for our failures, or for creating difficulty for other people, or for not being what our parents wanted us to be, or for not fulfilling whatever dream they had for them. We have some kind of guilt or shame, whatever it is about, that we can bring self-empathy to those difficult experiences, and they can heal. So the reason that this is important is it's huge actually, because it not only brings healing for ourselves, but when we're with another person and they're having a difficulty, it can bring healing for them. The other way that it's really amazing is that it creates an emotional depth in our experience of life. If we cut off all the difficult emotions, we cut off all the positive emotions. That's just how it works. You separate yourself from all that yucky stuff. You also separate yourself from joy and love and connection and unity and thrill and amazement and awe and celebration. So life is the emotions are like spices, and there's so many different emotions to experience. And one of the things that I remind myself of is that they're all amazing experiences, and if we apply curiosity when we go into those difficult experiences, it yields a very different result. This morning I had an experience. I woke up, I knew I was feeling sad, and I knew it was a time for self-empathy. I sat down, I closed the door, I put my phone off, I turned my phone off, and I just let myself sit and be. And this is actually a true story. This just happened today. And I went into my heart and I said, okay, what's going on? So remember in the last video, I said, what's going on underneath? So I asked myself, what's my experience now? And I felt a lot of deep sadness. And as I did, some memories started coming up from my early childhood of not having people be with me when I was going through difficult experiences, that I had to go through a lot of difficult experiences by myself. As you can imagine, being a little person, lots of challenges at every stage of the game. And when I was young, my parents weren't great at being there for me. I mean, they were great for providing opportunities, education, for encouraging me, but they weren't really great with this emotional resonance thing. So I allowed myself to be there and actually see the child that didn't get the support and to just hold her and provide some support for her now. And I know that sounds all kind of mushy and gushy for a lot of you, but actually when you can learn to be with your difficult experiences and provide empathy for yourself, then some real deep healing happens inside of you. And actually, after about 5 minutes of doing that, I then experienced the whole thing just dissolving. There was no more emotional difficulty. There was no more pain in my heart. I felt like there was a cloud of love surrounding me. I felt all is well with me and the world. And here I go. Here comes my day. And I got up and I started doing my day. And here I am with you lovely folks. So self-empathy is something that can really bring deep healing to ourselves, and it can really bring deep healing to others, and it can also allow for us to enjoy a much greater depth in our relationship, brings more meaning and purpose in our relationships, as well as allowing us to experience the highs of life, the celebration, the freedom, the inner joy, the celebration of just how amazing our life is in each moment. So these are some tips on resonating, imagining what the other person's feeling, practicing self-empathy. I want to encourage you all to take that shot of courage and go for the self-empathy piece. Try it out. Get your journal out, write in there, sit down on your bed, close your door, let yourself have your feelings. Let yourself remember about some of your past failures and some of the things that you were disappointed in yourself about, or things that people shamed and blamed you about, and actually let yourself feel the difficulty there. That will give you capacity to be a more mature human being, be more able to show up for others when they're having difficulty, and be able to have more heart presence with others. So thanks for listening, and stay tuned for Chapter 5, Connecting. So long for now.